Hey you guys, thanks for joining us today. On this episode, we're actually taking a break from the leather shop and running over to Andrew's over at Defensor Forge to take a peek at what he's working on. So he reached out to me and called me about a special project that he was commissioned to do. So he wanted me to look at maybe doing some leather work for it too. So we'll go take a look at what he's doing. Hey Andrew.
Hi Mike.
Hey.
Just shaving, man.
Busy. You're busy today.
Put the old razor away.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
All right, man. What you working on today?
So I got a call from one of my buddy's fiancées a few months ago, and she said that she wanted to. So let me take a step back real quick. My buddy named Mike. We go way back. Since 2001, we were in the military together. We deployed to Hurricane Katrina together, and we've known each other for a long time. He's a Catholic man with deep Irish Catholic roots. His dad, I believe, was straight from Ireland. So, but his fiance reached out. I don't know her very well yet, but she reached out and said, "Hey, I have this idea for a wedding ring. I want to get made for Mike." So he doesn't know. So she said, the problem is, what I want to have it made out of is a F14 Tomcat. I don't know what the technical term is, but it's some kind of blade that I believe there's a bunch of these and they rotate around inside the jet engines.
So this is actually from an F14?
This is from an F14, yep.
Okay.
So she said, I want it made out of this, and here's the kicker, she said, it's also titanium. So
does that mean, can you cut it easy? Like, I don't even know, like when you're a blacksmith, so is that hard to cut titanium? I mean, is that a harder material than?
It's a great question. I don't know. I've never worked with titanium yet. So you can see here, I made a tiny ding there.
Okay.
That was just from a hacksaw, so I was just testing it.
Soft. It seems like it's
This is
soft.
really thin, so
I see that for a second.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work with it and kind of see.
It's like, man.
I've seen some videos on working with titanium, but I've never worked with it yet myself.
That's really cool. I mean, so how does one get one of these?
I think she found a seller on eBay.
Okay, so they're
gets them used.
Wow.
You know, as far as I can tell, it's all titanium. It looks monolithic. Like, to me, it doesn't look like this lug has been welded onto here or anything. It looks like it's all titanium. But I'm going to spark test it and see. So when
I feel like that's titanium.
Is it?
I feel like that is, but I don't know. So that's polished and everything, but
it's light. It feels light, so it's probably titanium.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to spark test it and do some tests on it. If you like grind on titanium, the sparks coming off of it will be super bright, like white hot. Like you have to wear goggles.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll test it, but it forges. From what I've seen, it almost forges really soft, and then when it comes back to its true form, then it's hard again. Huh. I have seen a guy's video that I'll share, but he kind of tests different titaniums and if they're quenchable to harden them or not. So I will play around with, see if I can do some test pieces to see if I can harden this or what happens with it when you heat it up, anneal it, quench it, and all that. So we'll do some tests on some pieces. But what I've kind of been thinking is, so I kind of went through the thought process, and I've never worked with titanium at all before. I've never made a ring before. So I was just kind of like, well, just start measuring stuff.
Yeah, give it a shot. Right?
So I pulled my own ring off, just a little over 2 millimeters thick.
That's yours.
Yours about the same.
Okay.
Almost exactly the same. So that's probably about a standard thickness.
And you have his size of ring?
Yeah, he's a size 12, 11 and a half to 12. So I figured I'd do a 12, and then if it needs to be sized, it can be sized. But I was looking at this blade and trying to kind of pick apart the geometry of it. The blade is thicker down here in this curved portion than it is toward the edge. So the whole thing tapers out towards the edge. So we've got some thick material in here to work with. At the edge, down here, we're at about 2.5 millimeters. So if it's 2.5 millimeters here, and it's getting thicker down this way, what we could do is remove a strip from down here, down the center here, where the thick part is, and then loop that around, make a band. But what I've been thinking I want to try first is this lug up here. I want to cut this off here.
That's pretty thick.
And then see if I can forge this down and upset this to make this thicker, because there's a lot of material in here. And if we can, that should give us enough that I could just punch out a ring and then punch out the inner circle.
How hard is it to make it perfectly round?
That won't be real hard because
Okay.
I've got some punches that are pretty round. So once I punch it out, I'd probably punch the inner circle first and then drift that out to where it's kind of a perfect circle of a size 12 ring. I got some ring sizers and a mandrel. But then with polishing and everything, the cool thing is I can go over to the lathe, and I've got a couple different mandrels and chucks on the lathe that I can use to polish the outside and the inside.
Oh, nice.
So everything should be round and smooth. And
I mean, it does flex. I can just feel, so it seems like it's kind of workable or malleable. Right?
Yeah, I think its thing is that it's very tough. So
okay, yeah, like scratches.
In metals, there's toughness versus hardness, and a lot of people go back and forth. They don't understand. So, in a nutshell, hardness is like glass is hard, right? But it'll shatter. Porcelain's hard, but it'll shatter. I don't know. I'm just thinking of hard things that'll shatter. Well, when a knife is too hard, it could shatter. So if you take a knife and it's a certain kind of steel and you quench it and you harden the blade and you drop it, it could shatter like glass. That's why you need to temper it, which brings it down to a tougher state. So from my understanding of titanium is that it's like a very tough metal, but not necessarily hard, if that makes sense.
Okay, I've seen those guys on like Forged in Fire where they are kind of stroking it after they quench it, testing for hardness. So is that kind of what you're talking about a little bit?
Yeah, and usually they'll take a file to it. So I grabbed a file, and this is usually what they do like on Forged in Fire. They'll bring their blade out and they'll to see if the file skates or if the file digs in. If it skates, then that means it's hardened. But sometimes there's also a scale on the outside that some of the guys are like, oh, my blade's not hard, and they freak out. Well, sometimes you gotta remove the scale because your file will dig into that and then get to your steel. What I'm gonna do here is test that same kind of a test on the titanium blade to see if my theory is correct that titanium is more tough than it is hard. So first I'll try to scratch the surface. I'm just gonna try to scratch it with the corner of the file. You can see there it scratches like crazy. So I'm going to try to go along an edge or a corner maybe and see if it files. It does. You can see it turned over an edge. I don't know if you can see that very well.
And what are you trying to
anyway,
from that, I guess?
You can file it at least to a certain extent, and you can scratch it with a file.
Okay.
So I guess what else I don't know is if there's a coating on this or not. So we'll probably have to start forging and work with it, and then get some test pieces going and see what we have.
So what sort of timeline is the timeline of the project?
So the wedding is in about 6 weeks. Okay. So I've been waiting till I got power out in my shop to get going here, and I just got that on like 2 days ago. So I'm going to get going on it Great Guns now. I want to have it done within the next 2 weeks, so that way if she doesn't like it, or if I mess it up or I can't do it, she's got a buffer month to like go to Zales or something,
So what he won't see it until the wedding day.
I don't know. I don't know when she's gonna do it. I haven't talked to her about when she's gonna do it.
That's pretty neat. To be number one, to be like getting your ring, and then also to have it be done by you. But she had the thought of like that. Amazing. I never heard of anybody making it out of something like that.
I don't know if anybody ever has, but
yeah, that's awesome.
We'll see if it works. So my buddy's also an airline pilot, a commercial airline pilot now. So he's just got this big aviation theme. So
do you want to show us around the shop at all? Like you got electricity in here. And,
happy to.
Okay, so Andrew's going to take us around the shop and show us what he's got going on. So let's see, Andrew, what do you got?
So we can kind of start over here, and this will segue into what we're probably going to be doing in the next video. Is we're going to take this guy, and I'll probably throw the whole thing in the forge, and then kind of flatten this out, and then start seeing if I can upset this. So here's my forge. It's just a little propane forge. I have it semi-welded to a stand with these bird poo welds, but it works. So puts out a lot of heat. I can forge weld with it, so I need to make a door for one side so I can keep more heat in it, maybe a door for each side. But here's the anvil. This is an old Peterite anvil from England, so this probably would have been brought over on a ship a long time ago.
Whoa, like how old are you talking? Really old?
Could be 1700s.
Really? Holy smokes, okay.
I haven't looked up the specs on it, but it could be 1700s.
I mean, there's a marking on there, right? So I don't know what that...
Yeah, Peterite patent.
Wow.
And I think it says England somewhere.
That's really cool.
Then I think there's a number on the other side that says what, you can look up what the weight is by that number. I think it's about 140 pounds. Got a leg vise, clamping big things. There's a quench oil tank with peanut oil because it smells better than a lot of other oils when you're quenching it.
And what is that container? That's some sort of military issued.
Yeah, that is an old howitzer round can.
Pretty cool. And you're a vet, so you served quite a few years, right? Yeah.
I did.
So yeah.
Almost
Thank you, man. Thank you for your service.
Thanks for your support.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
fun. A lot of
Yeah.
it was fun. Working on making a hammer and tong and tool rack here for the forge area. It's going to work out. I just put everything up there as a mock to see if it was going to work out. Now I need to drill through the pipes and then put these rods in so it's permanent. Clamps, and steel and stuff. Old vices. This bad boy to hide stuff, which is a good thing in a workshop. Trying to figure out what I'm doing here. It's going to be some kind of workstation. Definitely coffee pot station. Still have yet to use that thing like with real electricity in here. So that'll be a treat.
And before it was right here, or I mean,
Yeah.
Currently.
I tried to run the coffee pot with the generator one time. It didn't work very well. But yeah, this I think I'll set up to look kind of nice with old hand tools, old hand planes and things like that. Kind of my happy place to sit and work on projects or work on my computer.
Old planes up there too. Those
Yeah,
are
this
cool
guy's
looking.
cool. It's just an old, big.
Wow, that's awesome. The patina on that. I mean, from a leather perspective, you look at what patina and burnishing edges, and that just, oh boy, that just screams patina and antique right there.
Yeah, I oiled it up nice.
Love it.
I don't want to take any of the patina off, but
Yeah.
it's got something to do with making like a rabbit on the side of a board or something.
Oh, cool.
It's got like a foot for. Anyway, it was like
Boy.
big. Like it was made out of one chunk of wood.
Wow.
Like I'm sure hand carved out. I just thought it was really neat. A little Crown Royal for the guy who doesn't drink. Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's the. So here's my current belt grinder. So this guy's a Grizzly. It's a 2x72 belt, and it's got me through a lot of stuff. I've made a lot of knives on this thing, but I really want to get a new one.
I've always wondered, just watching Forge and Fire, like how do they? I mean, that's for sharpening, right, and polishing.
And just grinding away steel. Like,
So that like belt, I mean, I've never felt one before, so that's kind of flexible, and I wouldn't have thought that would really grind away at metal, but it
so
does.
this is more like a polishing belt. This is a really worn 120 grit belt. So I'll get down to like a 40, 60 grit belt for just hogging off material, like if I'm profiling a knife or something. Then you just got to work your way up in grits after you establish your bevels and get to the finer tuning of it and everything. But I'd like to get one, maybe even a smaller 2x42, but they make them that are just like box-sized footprints. So, and the new ones come with attachments you can have for like grind a wheel like this compared to like a flat platen like that. This thing, I just have to use this wheel, I have to tilt it way back, and it's a pain. So anyway.
I mean, this is cool because this gives you an idea of like if somebody wanted to be a blacksmith or like go into it. Here's a couple of core tools that you probably could use. I mean, because you still do stuff on the, this is more of a side, hustle right now, but it's getting busier. I mean, you're busy enough that you had to build another shop.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are a couple of key tools that you'd probably recommend for people to at least get access to.
If you're really getting into knife making, I definitely recommend this Grizzly or a better one if you can afford it. But I started actually on a little Harbor Freight. I think it was like a 1 by something belt, just a 1 inch belt, and that's what I started making knives on. So that's a cheap way to get into it and just get started. This is kind of moving into the woodworking area more. So I picked up this Rigid. It's an oscillating spindle sander, but it's also a belt sander on there, so you can put the platform up flat and sand edges and things.
What size is your workshop now?
The footprint is 16 by 28.
Okay.
And we have the upstairs.
And this was a buy from like Home Depot.
This was a Home Depot through Tough Shed.
Yeah.
That's who Home Depot has to them. And
Well, honestly, when I see especially now that you got electricity in here, I know you've been here for a while without electricity, but it's almost like this isn't a huge place, but you've got like divisions for like, here's the woodworking area. Here's where I do my, forging.
Yeah.
Here's where you can sit and drink coffee and shave your beard with your knife.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's really well done.
Yeah, eventually I'd like to take the forge outside and build a lean-to on the side.
Oh, yeah.
That way you kind of get, all the fire and that stuff out of the shop. But, right now having it in that corner, I'll probably line those walls with like corrugated steel panels or something just to keep sparks off the walls and all that. But over here we've got the lathe. This is a Laguna. It's a Laguna 1216 Revo. And I've really liked this thing. The big thing about this that gave me the capability to do was have speed control, spindle speed control. So I started out on a Rockler mini lathe, and a lot of guys get those to like make pens and like tiny things. And I got one. I'm like, I'm gonna make bowls on it. So I was like spinning bowls on there. My tools were flying around.
Oh, shoot.
It just was not big enough for.
Oh.
I also didn't have big enough tools, but so used that for quite a while. Made a bunch of little things and really liked it. And finally invested in this, which gives me the automatic speed dial control, which is great. It does have a few different belt gears inside, but you can switch those out really quickly by pulling a handle down here. Loosens up the belt, switch that, boom, lock it in, and then you can, within that range, then you can dial the speed in up here. It's also got an outbound turning spindle, so you can turn larger things on outbound. I've got a table extension that goes out, and then it's also got a bed extension here. So that's that thing in a nutshell. Really like that.
Yeah, this is cool, man.
Yeah, so I got my slow speed grinder here for grinding sharpening lathe tools mostly. With storage back there. Big toolbox full of probably like 70% stuff I can throw away. Need to go through that. Harbor Freight bandsaw.
Oh, nice.
Wen drill press. And I've liked both of those, even though they're not super.
The nice thing is that me and Andrew didn't know each other very well. I'm not sure how long ago it was, but a number of years ago. Yeah, but he bought some leather from me years ago, and then turns out we're like a mile and a half away from each other. So this has been a great, relationship, and excited to kind of do more things and collaborations together. What are you working on down here, Andrew? I saw you were working on a cross or something.
Oh yeah, so I kind of have, I don't know, I guess I thought through most of my life that I didn't have an artistic bone in my body, and then, I don't know, I guess I just got a little older and wiser or something and figured out I did. I just wasn't channeling it properly. So now, like, getting into woodworking, getting into blacksmithing is like really good therapy for me. It, kind of keeps me sane. But with that, like, my artistic ideas come out, and a lot of times they come out when I'm trying to sleep or whatever. So this was something that I kind of like had a dream about, and I just really wanted to make it. So I started it so I wouldn't forget about it. In a nutshell, this is local Nebraska walnut that I planed one side of down, made a lap joint here, joined them with the arms of the cross, and then what I'm going to do is carve out here and put the Sacred Heart of Jesus in the middle.
Awesome.
And I think I'm going to do that out of like a red kind of wood, like an exotic wood, and then from there I'm going to carve these channels all deeper, almost all the way through. I'm going to fill them with a red kind of a resin, and I might make some go down here at the feet as well. And then after I fill that with the resin and that sets up, then I'll grind down the backside so it's thin enough to where in these veins all you see is the red, and you can see right through them.
Oh man.
And then it's kind of like the blood flowing, through the cross from the Sacred Heart of
Yeah,
Jesus.
that'd be amazing.
Let's go upstairs, check out upstairs. So this is the upstairs. I had thought, like, I swear
This is awesome.
I had this all insulated and done and finished. Turns out I don't. So anyway, no, I decided to like focus on the main level because the whole building was stressing me out. So I got a lot of insulation done up here, but I need to finish it. This will be finished. This will be my office eventually. I was like, just use upstairs for storage and get the downstairs figured out. So voila.
It's awesome. I know it's a work in progress. I mean, you're recently down here from the garage to a more of a bigger location where you can kind of house some of your stuff, and you're just getting so busy. So
Yeah.
this
Turns out
is
blacksmithing in a garage will wake a baby up. I was like, it's not in the house. It's
That's
just
great.
wakes a baby up.
So one of the reasons we came over, Andrew, was that you're going to kind of collaborate with me on maybe a leather box for the ring. So what do you have in mind for that?
Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, well, I'm making the ring. I want to have something to put the ring in to present it to her and for her to give it to Mike. So You know, naturally, you doing leather work, I thought, well, you know, I can engage Mike. So this is our first conversation we've had about it. But my idea is some type of leather ring box. Although after I did some research, I found there's common ring like leather pouches, just like flat ring pouches.
Okay.
So one or the other, you know, I'll let you kind of put your
try to draw something up, a mock up,
and think. But something nice for a wedding ring, something that'll last, you know, an heirloom kind of thing. Nice leather, and I thought with his big Irish Catholic heritage, if we could put like the Celtic knot or the Celtic cross or something carved into it. I know, you know, your carving is top notch.
Oh no, thanks. So yeah, thanks.
I think that'd look amazing.
Okay. All right, we'll sketch something up and I'll send it over to you. All right, Andrew. See you, buddy. I'm gonna get out of here.
Hey, thanks
get back to work. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, thanks for following us down there to Andrew's. Next episode, we'll actually start working on building this leather case. I've only got like 2 weeks. Oh, brother. God help us. Thanks for joining us, guys. See you next time. I try to be as efficient with my time as I can. I'm actually backing up while talking to you on YouTube. Don't hit any trash cans.